It doesn't matter what your age is, and it doesn't matter how much money you make or how many books are on a shelf that you've written. Everybody, at one time or another, feels like the girl that is not in the picture.
Isn't this the best part about having a podcast? Just like, oh, I liked that person. We should keep talking. Let's make it a podcast recording.
Yeah, it's honestly, when I started podcasting, I didn't expect that part of it. I will tell you this. I live in a very small town in East Texas.
Okay.
And so the people who do what I do and what you do are few and far between.
Okay.
And so I have found that this is a very lonely business for me. And there's not a lot of touch points in the community, surrounding communities. So podcasting has opened up just an avenue to get to talk to other people who do what I do. That's been really healthy for me. That's been because it's very lonely. So lonely, in fact, I may cry during this podcast. And
wow.
I'm here for the comedy, and I may cry, but I don't care.
Wow. Okay. Well, you really set me up. Now I'm going to feel like if I don't make you cry, I'm a real loser failure because that was real low hanging fruit because now I'm on a mission. No, I'm just kidding. But I would actually love to dive in this. We're kind of going off of our typical format. That's fine. We might circle back. We might not. But I am really curious about what does loneliness look like for you? How do you experience? What is the void of like, if in my best life, I have this and this and this, and I don't, and this is the impact that it has on me. Specifically, this vocational loneliness that you're talking about.
Yeah. And I want to make that very clear. It is a vocational loneliness. You know, I have my latest book. Wow, Melissa, great segue into what your upcoming book is. Wasn't easily done, folks.
Hey, you know, first 5 minutes, she got it. That's talent.
Well, I know it is talent. Okay. I'm not just here for the fun, people. I'm also very pretty. Listen, here's the deal.
Sure.
I want to make it clear that it is a vocational loneliness. The reason I say that is because if anybody looks at my latest book and they go, wait, she's written a book on community and on relationships, and then I'm on this podcast saying how lonely I am, people are going to think I'm a liar. I have made it a point to build community and relationships in my life currently because I am so lonely occupationally. So it is very important to me that at the end of the day, when work is over and we cut the lights off, when the podcast is done recording and all of the influencer lights go off, that I have people in my life that I'm happy to be with and that I meet for Mexican food on a Friday night, right? And I have chips and salsa with. That's very important to me because I don't feel like I have it. 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Because you best know our line of work is not 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, but you get my point.
Absolutely. I think this is so you may or may not know a lot of my work and speaking and writing and making of things in the world is around community and connection as well. And I do think that is the types of, there's being lonely and then but it's so nuanced. And so I think getting more nuanced with anytime we're experiencing like a meta emotion, I think it's fine. It can be healthy. It can be like a trigger for awareness. But if we don't actually get more nuanced, I think with positive emotions, we tend to have a lot of nuance. Like I'm feeling joy. I'm feeling excitement. I'm feeling loved. I'm feeling so supported. I'm feeling encouraged. Like we have all of these words. And then when it comes to hard emotions, I feel like we're kind of like, I feel bad.
In the realm of what we were just talking about vocationally though, and loneliness, you said, is it loneliness or could it be more nuanced? To which I would say to you, my own personal Caroline Chambers, I don't know. Help me suss that out.
Even within loneliness, there are all different types of loneliness. And that's what I feel like sometimes people are like, I just feel lonely and disconnected, and going, okay, in what area of your life do you feel lonely and disconnected? What is, and I mean, the biggest question is like, what is the unmet longing? You have an unmet longing. And the more specific you can articulate the unmet longing, what I feel like it naturally allows us to do is one, actually recognize the areas where we are fulfilled, where it sounds like you have this life that's super rich with a certain type of friendship.
Mhm.
And so it's so beautiful to be able to go, we all have these various different buckets. And for each of us, the bucket sizes are different, and what we need to be at kind of optimal relational and social health is different. So it's really important that we know that, we discover that for ourselves. There are some commonalities for
Mhm.
most humans. There's like certain numbers of relationships and capacity. There's a big range, but there is still a range. But kind of we all have these different buckets, and the more nuanced we can get with the bucket, the more honest we can be with ourselves about the unmet longing, and then the more productive we can be. Because if you were just like, well, I'm lonely, maybe I do need some more chips and salsa margarita girls, and then it's like, okay, that actually might cause a form of stress. If you have an area where you're really full and you keep adding on to it, there's a whole new type of stress that's going to come from tending to and being available to those relationships
That's
to the
good. Yeah,
degree that you need to.
you're
So
right.
it's like, it's not helpful to go, I'm lonely. What you've already done. So I just want to say congratulations. Like, this is, I think it's amazing. Your self-awareness of going, I'm experiencing vocational loneliness. I
Mhm.
think it's probably, listen, we're 15 minutes into this conversation and I am not your business coach or therapist. So take this with a huge grain of salt. Um, but I think that's really possible. What you've described is like you have vocational loneliness. And then I would just ask like a couple follow-up questions around when you imagine a vocational life that feels more supported and connected, what are a couple unmet longings? And so you can get even like more like nuanced. And my
Drill
favorite
down. You can
drill
drill
down.
down into it.
And
Mhm.
my favorite way to drill down and to know ourselves, like I think jealousy is one of my favorite emotions because I think it is one of the most instructive emotions that we have. And I think we've been taught that jealousy is a bad emotion and that we should immediately fix it. And we fix it with gratitude, especially if you're a Christian. It's like, experience jealousy, that's bad, fix it, be grateful for what you have.
Ask for forgiveness needs to be in there somewhere
Yeah,
too.
ask for
You
forgiveness
experience
if you're a
jealousy,
little
you
brat.
need to ask for forgiveness and then just turn that around to
Yep.
100 things in a journal you're grateful for.
Yep. So it's like jealousy, forgiveness, gratitude, never go back there again.
Mhm.
And one, I think there's a beautiful, like, I think gratitude plays an amazing part in the journey, but I feel like we're shortcutting the wisdom to find in our own jealousy. Because the next question, when I experience jealousy, before I get on my knees, ask for forgiveness, and start listing out everything I'm grateful for, I go, what is the specific unmet longing that you have?
Mm.
Like, you're seeing something, usually it's not even true, but you are perceiving that someone has something that matters to you that you think that you don't have. And getting as nuanced and specific as possible. Jealousy is just a great trigger. Like, it gives it because you saw something. There was some image, you saw something on Instagram, you overheard a conversation, and you felt a twinge of jealousy.
100%. I know what it was.
Okay. Tell
Isn't
tell
that
us.
funny? You're bringing that up. Okay. And you just referenced to anyone driving in a minivan right now. Okay, ladies, listen up. Because, yeah, she's right. I remember where I was, what I was doing when I saw a certain picture on Instagram that made me feel left out.
Can you
So,
tell us what it was? Like the context? You don't have to say who, but like what, because even that, it's like, oh, that's a broad category, a picture on the internet that made me like, paint the picture for us. What was it? Because there's something, we're going to have to go like 2 or 3 levels deep into that to go, what's the specific unmet longing that you felt
why
in
are
this?
you doing this? We are 16 minutes into this. Okay. When I was first starting out and I was labeled an author and a speaker, one of the things that I wasn't labeled was Christian.
Mm,
Not because I wasn't. I was I have been a follower of Jesus since I was 7 years old. I love him more today than yesterday. I read my Bible. I am a Christian, but I did not come out of the chute in this line of work as a Bible believing woman preacher on the stage Christian. And I also brought with me the label comedian. And
okay.
those are rarely ever Christians,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We just don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
So I would see pictures of women that had been going and in this line of work that I'm in only a year or two before me, if even that. And they had already found each other, and they had already joined together, and they were already on stages together, and they were already traveling together, administering together, and hugging necks at one's book signing because all the others came to it. But I was never included because I wasn't labeled like they were.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like I should wear a t-shirt that says, I can be funny, but I also love Jesus. Pick me, pick me, pick me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just decided, well, I'm here. I'm in a different town. And maybe that's why they're not, I don't know, Liz, what is wrong? I just never felt like I found my group and nobody ever invited me in. Don't you ever feel that way?
Oh, girl.
I'm asking a woman who literally lives in a commune with her best friends.
Yeah, but don't you know that we go out to create our deepest lack, our deepest sorrow, our deepest grief. So am I regularly experiencing that right now on Meta? No. In very specific sectors, still yes. But I will just say the only reason I built the life that I did is because my story is one where it's like one of the most painful seasons of my life was because I felt so alone and so ashamed and so in hiding. And so it's like, it's a reaction to my deepest grief that I've gone out. It wasn't like I was like, well, this seems like a could not do. Like, you don't build unless you don't set out to solve a problem for the long haul if you have not been in pain from that specific problem.
Yeah.
So yes,
Can I
identify. Yeah.
Can I give you an example of something that happened?
Yeah, please.
That has kind of stuck out. And I think too, because one of the things that you do on your podcast is talk about a career path and how did you get where you are and all this. So it kind of goes in line. So let me tell you this little story. Many years ago, I was working at a church as a worship director. And I loved that job because I am a singer at heart. That's what I've always done. I've led worship my whole life. And so that's what I was on staff as a worship pastor at a church here in this town. And I loved that job. It was one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. Loved everybody I worked with. And sometimes people say working at a church, it's like, oh, you see behind the set. No, I loved it. It was a very functional church. But I made a video one night and I put it up on the internet on Facebook. And by the next morning when I woke up, it had 1 million views.
Ooh,
and I went,
it
took off overnight. When I went to work that day, my husband called me when I was about to get off work and go pick up the kids from school. He said, have you looked at the internet? I said, no. He said, now it's at 7 million. By that night, it was at 11. It just kept going. And today it has about 150 million views.
Oh my gosh.
That video, and you may say, what's it about? Please don't waste your listeners' time. Trust me, it was silliness. It was about mom stuff, me talking about mom stuff.
Yeah.
As of today, it has about 150 million views. And that video changed my life. Here's one thing you need to know. I was called into ministry at a very young age. I felt the Holy Spirit speak to me and say, I'm going to use your voice. And as a singer and as someone who came from a singing family, that's what I assumed God meant. Never assume what God means. Because what I found out was that he would use my voice, not my singing voice, but my voice. And he would use it in a myriad of ways to reach people and to hopefully further the kingdom of God. But it was that video that caused me to have to leave my job at the church because everything was taking off. Before I knew it, morning shows and afternoon talk shows were having me come out and speak on behalf of moms. And I got my first book deal based off of these videos I continued to put out and make. And everyone would just go viral. This was back in before the algorithm knew how
viral
to
heydays.
drag us down, right? Several years later, I was in Nashville and I was meeting with an influencer that I loved and I was very excited to meet with them.
Yeah.
And I won't name who it is because it's one of the best people I've ever met. And I wouldn't want anyone to ever be mad at them. So I will never say who it was. But we were having coffee and we were talking about another influencer. It wasn't bad. We were just saying, we were just talking about different careers and we were talking about how that one launched and this one launched. And so this one that I'm sitting across, this female that I'm sitting across, here we are talking about another influencer that's just kind of risen to the ranks and come out of nowhere. And she said this, yeah, but you can't really put a lot of stock in her career. She's only here because she had a video go viral. And I just took a deep breath. That felt like a punch in the gut. And then she said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Don't be offended that I said that. I know that's how it happened for you too. And it is. But what nobody ever knows is that I went to Bible school, that I got my degree in Bible, I got my degree in music, that I was raised singing in the church, that I led Bible studies for years, that I paid my dues. That was just the way God chose to launch my career. But when she said it, I felt very embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever gotten over the embarrassment of that. And I've spoken to God about it a lot. And God's like, hey, how I get you there is my business. How I get you on a stage or in a book or across a video that someone ends up holding in their palm is my business, not hers, not really even yours. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. But from that day on, I always felt a little bit embarrassed of how I came to be doing what I'm doing. Because what if no one thinks I'm legit? And then I would see all the pictures of those girls, all together. And I would just think, I wonder if they ever sit around having coffee and think, well, we can't really count her in. Her career took off because she had a video go viral. Do you see?
Oh, girl.
It doesn't matter what your age is. And it doesn't matter how much money you make or how many books are on a shelf that you've written. Everybody, at one time or another, feels like the girl that is not in the picture.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was like such a gift. It was a gift to me. Anytime we share those just like still tender spots, it is just such a gift. It was a gift to me. And I know that it was a gift to someone that is listening to this. I feel so confident in that. So thank you for sharing that. And
Sure.
You're definitely not alone. I think probably every single person listening to this has had that moment, not that moment with what was said and not that moment with what question it caused them to ask themselves, but a painful question. But may I offer a reflection that I heard in the way that you told that story that may or may not resonate with you?
Please.
So we started this off talking about vocational loneliness, or like loneliness. Then let's get more nuanced. Are you lonely in every area of your life that you need specific support and connection? Or is there one specific area that you feel particularly lonely in? And then you shared beautifully just this like very, very tangible. I just love how like you took us there. We were there with you. We felt it in our bodies. I might propose, and these two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like you could still have an unmet longing for vocational support. And if I had another hour with you, what I would want to do is even dive in more to that, because I think you could learn there. It's already there. You know it. It's just having somebody ask you the right questions, and then so you can articulate it and identify what the actual need is. But what actually ended up happening was I asked you the question of what was the unmet longing as it relates to vocational loneliness. If your core problem was that you are vocationally lonely, there's a lot of different ways that you could have answered that. And it could have been something like, I need a friend to talk to when I had this experience as a leader and as an influencer. And I felt really whatever. I didn't know what to do in this situation because I've never been that way before. And I just didn't really feel like I could talk to my margarita and tortilla chip gals because they just don't get it. And I just long for a thought partner who has had that experience before that could, help me like problem solve that thing. There's like 100 different versions of that you could have said that would have been like, oh yeah, you're missing support with a specific type of person that has lived experience. That is not where you went. where you went to was this core, deep questioning about your worthiness. Like, am I good enough?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like what you've done is you've conflated a specific lunch table with getting a seat at that lunch table means I'm worthy.
Right.
And means I'm good. And it means I belong, and it means I'm legitimate, and it means I'm admirable, and it means I'm respectful. If I can get a seat at that table, it actually has nothing to do with who is at that table.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what I didn't hear is that you do really long for specific relationships with the people at the table. What you long for is what you think you're going to get when you get the seat at that specific table, which is a big stamp of approval from people that matter that says Melissa is good and she's smart and she belongs and she's one of us. And that actually isn't loneliness. That is a longing to believe that you're good enough and that you're worthy and that you belong and that your specific matrix of gifting and the way that you show up in the world is like, that wasn't an accident. Like, God has a different path for you, and you aren't that isn't who God created you to be. And to try to become that, you're going to lose so much of your magic and what makes you unique. And there are so many women who look at you and hear your stories and your mixture of humor and irreverence and honesty and tenderness. And God will use your voice in their life in a way that they will not use those 7 people that sit at that table, because that isn't their story. That isn't their lived experience. And when we get confused like this, because I've seen this happen over and over and over again. And so people spend their whole life trying to get the seat at the table, not because they actually even want to be at that table. Because one of the things that I heard from you that you talked about in the beginning was like, there was a time where you felt more comfortable in like who you are and how God's story evolved. And then this story started to grow in you that said, this is the mark of someone who is worthy. They get a seat at this table. And when people finally get a seat at a table that they actually didn't even necessarily like have a super unmet longing to like be in relationship with those specific people or have that support system, because they thought it was going to meet this, like they were finally going to feel like they were good enough, you will feel lonelier than you have ever felt in your entire life. And you will be at the table surrounded by the people because you fought to get a seat at a table for a make-believe reason that was never going to give you. They can't give that to you. They cannot give that to you. And not only will you feel, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking as you were saying that, I have an 18-year-old daughter, and I've had the conversation with her before about the seat at the table. When she was in middle school, mainly. My daughter is fortunately, I guess I should say, she's pretty much at every table. She never lacks a seat. She kind of fits in everywhere she goes. She's got a level of confidence that I certainly didn't have at that age.
Yeah.
But if you're a mom, or heck, if you're a college girl, whoever is listening to this podcast right now, you know what Liz and I are referring to, right? When we talk about that seat at the table, every one of us have wanted to sit at a table with our peers, a table with our populars, a table with the chosen, a table with the ones who validate. But a lot of times when I look at those seats at the table and the girls that are filling them up, if we delve deeper, we think, I wouldn't even fit in with her. She's a terrible person. Why would I even want to sit at that table? But the truth is, for me, these aren't terrible people. Totally. They're really not. Yeah. They're quite lovely.
Yeah.
And I think that what you hit on, though, for me, is why, though, Liz, at 50, do I still crave a level of validation when I am a woman who talks to other women about validation? When I am a woman who has done so much work, self-work, on my identity, why in the world at 50 do I still have to be reminded of it?
Yeah.
But I just have to say, as I'm sitting here listening to you, if I am never invited to sit at that table, and I have to sit for the rest of my life with the women who flounder in who they are and what God has called them to do,
I may be more honored to do that than to sit at the table with all of the Beth Moores in the world. And I can say Beth Moore because it wasn't her.
Yeah.
It wasn't her in the least.
No, if you say something bad about Beth Moore, you get kicked off the show.
I know, for real. That's why I said it. But maybe I'm okay to sit at that table, you know?
Okay, so there's two things. One, why am I still struggling with this? You're human. You're human, and humaning is so hard. And
It is
just like
hard.
this side of heaven, we're gonna have our thorns. I have a thorn. I was literally just on another call that was supposed to be a business call, and I got very personal. And I'm talking about this is a thorn. I think it's something I've carried. I've made progress for sure, but I think I'm gonna carry it for the rest of my life. Then you have the added layer of like shame or guilt of like, who am I to be writing books and standing on stages and talking about this thing when I'm still struggling with it? And I would like to ask you a question.
Yeah.
You got an all expenses paid trip to Peru. You're going to, or Argentina. I don't know, wherever, Machu Picchu, some like really cool thing is. And you have the option. You have two guides that you get to decide that you're going to do this amazing adventure with. One is actually a friend of yours, and they've done this hike 2 or 3 times. It's still a struggle for them, and like it kind of freaks them out a little bit, but they kind of know the ropes and they've done it before. So they have some really helpful tips for you about like, pack this, don't pack that. This is where it's going to get really hard. it's going to be hard for me too. But I know enough to kind of help. Like, we're not going to be totally in the dark. That's your one choice for who you get to journey with. The next is, she came straight off of TikTok. She has that peach bottom that everybody, all the like, I don't know when the world changed to going like, we were afraid of big butts to going like, oh no, we want them. And we have like special pants that go up our butt crack to show them.
Right.
She's got that. She has that kind of ass.
Uh-huh.
And she has done this hike literally 100 times, and she's written, and she's amassed millions of followers because the way that she does this hike, it's like curated and it's perfect. And she is like, she knows how to do it. And with a level of expertise and grace and ease, and you can come with her if you want.
You can stop talking now because she don't sound fun. She don't sound fun to me at all. I'm gonna pick the first one.
You're going to pick the first one. 99.99% of humans that like are normal, who knows what that actually means, are going 99% here. I'll say in that instance, because she has the peach ass thing going on, 99.9% of women are going to choose to go with the first. Okay. Right. We got a whole nother conversation about the boys over here. But the point being, you want the slightly more experience. I've wrestled with this. I have a couple helpful tips, but it's still going to be challenging for me, and we're going to be in it together. I am not here to show you exactly how it's done and to show how amazing I am. And you're just kind of my little accessory that gets to do it my way and then go preach about how amazing I am. We choose our guides because they're just a few steps ahead of us and they still feel what we feel. And I believe that you're still feeling like you're wrestling with this question of, do I belong? Am I worthy? Am I good enough? Am I loved? Am I respectable? The fact that you still wrestle with that does not take away from your equipping to go do the call that God has put you on your life to encourage and to inspire and to rally and to connect with women to live the life that God has for them. It is not a hindrance to that calling. It is actually, it's like, that's a tool in your toolbox. That's a gift that makes you like a worthy, trustworthy, relatable guide on this journey who isn't up at the summit. She's just a few steps ahead of us. And so
because I have to say, when you were describing tour guide number 1, what stuck out to me, this is so weird. What stuck out to me was when you said they've done it a number of times and they've been successful, but they still get a little scared sometimes. That stuck out to me.
Yeah.
I trust somebody who, when I say, okay, we need to slow down, this part scares me, the road is too narrow here, that they would turn around and say, oh, I know, me too. It still gets me every time. I feel much more confident with that person.
It is different than the blind leading the blind, or like and that is also its own really sweet relationship when you enter into something with somebody who truly is also has no idea what's going on. There's like value to that, but it's very different. This is a guide. She can actually help you. And if you listen to her, there's something she's going to tell you about how to do this hike or how to position your skis or how to get the boot back on that is materially going to make this experience more enjoyable, but two, like you're going to get better having hung out with her because she does know a thing or two, but she still remembers, and maybe even still in that moment is going through a season where she's feeling those emotions. And so if that's who you want to be in the world, like I want you to hang on to that like mental image, like being afraid too, but having a couple extra skills or rodeos that you've been through have given you a set of experiences and truths that are going to be really helpful. Being afraid or still struggling with that very thing is not a hindrance to your calling. It's actually how God's going to use you. But not if you're mired in shame about it. If you're mired in shame about it, then you're like, I can't do this job. Somebody else could do it better. And then you know who is leading everybody? The peach ass Lululemon girl. We don't,
or it's, you know, I'm mired in shame about it. So I'm just going to have to stay on top of this mountain and not even ski down. Well, you can't stay there forever.
Yeah.
You know, that's good. I like that. I'm fine being the guide who walks with a limp. I'm okay.
That's what we want.
Because if I walk with a limp, that means I've been out there. I've been in the dangerous places. I've been doing the work.
Yeah. I mean, think about AA.
Okay.
Like the whole model of AA, which is arguably one of the most powerful, proven, you know, when we think about people helping each other in this kind of guide mentor model, and like, you can't be an AA mentor, or what do they call them? There's like a specific name for it. My sponsor. You can't be a sponsor if you haven't been on the road yourself. But the second thing that I want to say is, so you've got like, there's this work for you to believe that it's not a hindrance. It's actually like an asset. And that is actually what people need. So don't let shame get in the way, because we need you in the world. But when it actually does come to back to the table, here's the thing. Your longing to be at a table is a good, true, right longing that I think we were born with, we were made with, we have to acknowledge, and we do have to prioritize and pursue. So this isn't me going like, girl, just believe that you're good enough and go be your lone ranger and do it your way. I don't actually think that is there is a legitimate lack of support and connection that you are missing in your life. However, I feel 99.9% confident there is no existing table that if you could get a seat at would solve for that very legitimate good longing. I believe, and this, you're not going to like to hear this. I'm really sorry in advance. I think that you have to build the table.
Oh, crap. I knew you were going to say that.
And here's the thing. We love to believe we're so unique, specifically with our problems. Like, I have this unique longing and nobody else. No, I promise you, if you long for it and you want it, and there is this specific niche table that would bless you, that would enrich your life, that would make you feel braver and more supported. If you have that longing, you are not a unique snowflake in the world. There are other women out there that are going, that's the table that I want to sit at.
Yeah.
And like, I'm so sorry to say this. You will not find the table, and you will not find your seat at the table.
Liz, you're making me so mad. You're giving me so much work to do.
I know. We ended our last conversation with so much mutual love and affection, and I feel like I've really gone and plucked that up.
But you have plucked all over the place. but you're right. Because what if I build a table and then I become the girl that invites people to sit at it? And they would come too, because I am awesome. They would come because I am so funny and like them and normal, you know? But man, isn't it work, y'all?
It's
To
work.
know that you got to build it.
But here's the thing. Here's what we don't talk enough about. If you could categorize the work, the hours, the pangs of shame, the scrolling on the internet, the just amount of time that you spent going, why wasn't I? You have a whole theory. Oh, you've got it all. And listen, it is just a theory. The theory that you have about why you haven't been invited to that table is exactly that. It's a theory.
Oh, for sure.
And it was a well articulated and thought out theory that required work. It requires work to come up with stories on behalf of other people of why we're not welcome, of why we don't belong. So I'm not even asking you. I want you to entertain the idea. I'm not asking you to do more work. I'm asking you to shift your energy, take the same amount of energy, same amount of hours, same amount of, because here's the thing. Anxiety and creativity are the same, come from the same source. They require the same amount of energy. You're like, I don't have time to be creative. I'm not going to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go do my morning pages. And like, we feel like creating space to be creative is all of this additional work that it's like, I'm just trying to survive. And I will look at you and say, girl, you are creative. I heard you spinning out. I heard you coming up with stories about what other people think about you, about why you don't belong, about what's going to happen if you don't. That's what anxiety is, literally inventing a future that doesn't exist. Creativity is using your energy to invent a future that does not yet exist. Being a visionary and being an anxious wreck of a person actually require the same output. It is imagination. They're the same thing. One just is going, it's literally just the intonation is different. With anxiety, you're going, what if? What if this is what they think about me? What if I say something stupid? What if I did say something stupid and this is what they're saying about me? And then they're telling their friends, what if I don't do this, then this bad thing's going to happen because it always happens. What if? You're asking what if. That's a lot of creative energy because it hasn't happened. It's not the truth yet. Creativity is the exact same question. It is the exact same amount of work. It is the exact same energy output, but the intonation is different. It goes, what if? Like, what if there is someone out there? And I would say just start with one. Don't make it a big deal. What if there's one person out there who has this unmet longing that I have? And what if I started putting my energy into trying to find her, putting it out there, being vulnerable, asking, committing, meeting with her regularly, building trust? And then what if eventually the like trust and camaraderie that we have, like we start to kind of create this like aroma of friendship. And then there's another gal and we invite her to the table. And then it becomes, and there's like 3 of us. And then we've got this like small group of women that what if 15 years from now, I am back having a conversation with Liz Bohannon, and I'm telling her that one of the richest, most beautiful parts of my life is this group of women. And it started like kind of around, I think it was like 2025, and it started slow and it took years. But now this group of women, I can be my full self. I share the highs, I share the lows. They're my creative thought partners. We transition between business and vocation and personal life. And there's just like a level of knowing. And I like these women are probably going to be with me for the rest of my life. Like, what if that's what's ahead of me? They're both asking what if. They're both imagining a future that doesn't yet exist. One will just have you spiraling deeper and deeper into shame, into self-doubt, into darkness. You will be paralyzed. It is a weight. And the other one is energy, but it is energy that it's like, it's regenerative. And that actually, it comes back to you. It fuels you. It sparks your imagination. It's still work. It is still work. It is not easy. It still takes time, hours, thoughtfulness, intention, vulnerability, putting yourself out there, failing, or wrong turn, pivot. It's all work, but it's a very different type of work. And so what I'm asking or proposing for you to consider is like, even that moment of, oh, but it's so much work. Girl, you already doing work. Right. I hear the fruit of a lot of work that you got going up there in your imagination. What if you just take the work from what if? What if I never belong? What if they're telling this story about me? What if this is true about who I am? To what if I get to build it and invite others into it and then bless people? And it's like, because our calling is always the area where we felt the most pain. So it's like you are uniquely equipped to then go bless somebody who is feeling the exact type of pain that you're feeling right now. Like, what if you get to be that for somebody, Melissa?
Yeah.
What if?
That's so good. And what if that leads to another part of the calling, another part of the using my voice, another part of the, I mean, what might it lead to? You know?
What if?
That's a beautiful thought. Really, it's a beautiful thought to me because um I would do anything for another woman to not have to ever sit at home and look at pictures that she's not in. I mean, what could I do to make sure that didn't happen? So I'm sorry that this is what your podcast today turned into. I am so sorry.
Well, one, I am not at all sorry. I feel so blessed by your generosity of spirit and your vulnerability. It is such a gift. I didn't expect the conversation to go in this way, I have to admit. But in a very unexpected way, you just gave us a big, fat, giant gift. And I felt like I was just along for the ride. So,
well, I think that you are really amazing at what you do. And I literally was sitting here thinking, I wonder if she could coach me. And if she did, we could just film it for people because they probably would want a bird's eye view to what's going on here. They're probably like,
Hey,
whoa. But
no idea that I don't at least a little bit go, I don't know, what if? What if?
I if there's a lot you can say about me, there's a lot of things I'm not, but real I am, and transparent I am. And I've never been afraid of that. I also did not think that this conversation would go this way. But I just have to wonder though, who is she? What is she doing right now? Like, where is she? Is she driving in her minivan? Is she waiting to pick up the kids from school? Is she walking into her office not feeling alive by what it is she does? If my tears, and y'all can hear the crying and the tissue paper rustling as I'm wiping my tears.
Let's be very clear. It's toilet paper.
Toilet paper. If it matters to her, it will have been so worth it for me to just open up with all this. So I thank you for leading me and letting me go there.
One thing I particularly love about you, which I experienced like the full circle of this in this episode, my favorite type of people to be around are the ones that in one conversation have me hooting and hollering and snorting and being like, wow, I can't believe you just said that out loud, all the way to tender and available. And like, that is such a gift because some people can do tender and available and share their hard things all day long, but you ain't never going to laugh with them. And that's fine. They're their own people. I'm just saying my unique personal preference of a human is like the faster we can move between absolute, like irreverent, hilarious, unexpected absurdity to like truth, tenderness, vulnerability. Here's the grief and sorrow of my life.
Yep.
That's my favorite ride to be on. That is my favorite ride to be on. All right. This was a gift. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Where can people find more of you? Because they're going to want more of you. Where do we go? How do we find you?
They can find me on all the social medias. I'm doing stuff on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram every day. It's Melissa Radke. And they can find me there, and they can find my books wherever you buy books. My new one is called Chicken Fried Women. Friendship, Kinship, and the stories that made us this way. I love to laugh and I love to do it with women. So I would love for them to look me up. And I think being with you here today has healed a little something that God's been working on me with. So I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Melissa. We love you.
Love you too.